And that's where all the paraglider pilots go.
So, do you think, some sort of information or regulatory, whatever that looks like, would help?
I think, so, I don't think, so I'm kind of, I'm hesitant to suggest regulation. I would promote information and education first.
Fair enough.
Right? Now, again, everyone that I fly with, you can't touch the ground if you don't have permission from the owner unless it's an emergency landing.
Correct, and then, if it, and I understand, but if there is an emergency, everybody's kind of got free game here. Now, please understand that if something happens, there's not much these folks can do, nor can Dave in his airplane or I. So that is a whole separate issue. He would always be good there.
So the other thing, your restricted gun range is not on a VFR section. So how are they going, unless it's published somewhere, how are they going to know not to fly over?
Isn't that part of the responsibility of the guy flying to know where the hell he's flying?
Yeah, if it's not published.
I look at it, we look for
Well,
TFRs.
the fellow in the
We look
Browning.
for NOTAMs. Is it in a NOTAM?
Please talk.
So I am not a fan of more regulation, but I do wonder why do we have to get a pilot's license to fly a drone? But these guys seem to fly, and what I've found in talking to a couple of them is the ones I talked to had no idea that they were supposed to stay a certain distance from people or things. I own a private airport. We operate a 135 operation out of that. I was trying to take off one day, and three of these guys come right down the runway 50 feet. I can't take off from over there. They didn't care. They're out, they're literally walking across some hangar rooms. They're doing this sort of thing. And there is no way for me to identify them because they don't have to have any kind of registration. There's no, so they go do their thing, so I followed them for a while. So they go land in some farmer's field and pack up and the car picks them up and
They have no common courtesy from nobody. They think everybody's supposed to cater to them. If they're gonna do something, we're gonna do it. We don't have to answer to nobody. And it's just the way they operate.
I fully understand they're not all that way.
No,
I mean,
they're not.
there are bad apples and everything, so.
Right.
I get it.
There is no min altitude in the 413. It just says you cannot fly to create a hazard, and you can't fly over congested areas, you can't fly in controlled airspace. There is no minimum altitude. Minimum altitude in part 6, is it 61 or 91? I can't remember. Yeah.
Well, the 91.
Yeah, but there.
What does common sense tell them?
Let me speak up here if I may, please. Okay. You're right, 103, in fact, that's what I just passed out to you, a copy of CFR 103, the FAA regulation, okay? If you don't get a copy, you want a copy, I have some more over here yet I can give you. All right, so, yeah, all it says here, as far as those rights are concerned, and an altitude where you're not presenting danger to persons or property. So who determines that? Well, I'm gonna tell you who determines that. It's not you, the pilot. It's the person on the ground. If you're flying over somebody and he considers that to be a hazard to him, he determines that. So now, if you've got a faulty decision in your mind, if your mind is faulty about what you think is safe, well, then you're going to be faulty in the way you're flying the aircraft. And I'm going to tell you guys what, 10 inches above somebody's roof, 10 inches above somebody's a silo, or within 10 feet of somebody, that's too close. That's too close.
So
That's
the
dangerous.
USPPA syllabus recommends, due to the vagueness of the statute, do not fly over buildings. So again,
I got videos of it happening.
I'm not denying that it's happened, but because there are less reputable instructors and there's at least one of them in Ohio that do not follow the USPPA syllabus.
I believe that. We have in Part 91, and they have regulations concerning restrictions on how low we can fly in pilots, how close we can be in congested areas and non-congested areas. And we follow those. Now, do we have people that do stupid stuff? Yeah, we do. We do. fact, they just caught one recently and removed all their certificates from her. We're flying under the bridge down here. By the way, I got videos of one of you guys flying under the bridge. So I went to the FAA and I said, hey, airliners are doing this. And she did that in, I think it was her Piper Cup, right? Yeah, did it in her Piper Cup. So she get her license back because you guys didn't do anything to them? That's what you got. You guys didn't do anything? Tell me what kind of dangers did they present to the people on the bridge and the traffic and to themselves, of course. I'm gonna take to hit the bridge, I heard it a lot, but they hit enough traffic, and she went up over the bridge into traffic. How many people do you think they might have hurt? I don't know. There's a lot of what ifs there. None of it happened, thank God.
And we had one in the light plane flying over treetops over there, 50 foot off the treetop.
Sounds like I'm
He
complaining.
went down to the bridge on 71, guess where he's at right now? Sitting over on Center Road pushing up daisies. He's dead.
And it
So,
can
but
happen.
anyway, the issue is, airplane pilots, we do have limitations that we can be at. And I think that, in personal opinion, I think you guys ought to set yourself some limitations. I know we've got 103 that gives a very plain, definite regulation, and that fact, there's actually more than one, there's two there, possibly three, but they're all very vague. And it depends upon the person doing it. What does he think is safe? And I'm gonna tell you guys what, if she feels threatened because of how close you got to her, that's unsafe.
And how do I go about getting it so I can get a menace set upon them? Because to me, they're menacing me. I can't enjoy my garden. My dog can't run around and enjoy the pond.
I feel like I'm talking too much, but.
I mean,
How come you're the only one of the paragliders
yeah, because the
talking?
one guy was one of those guys, I'm pretty sure I recognize his face loading up, and his instructor was there that day.
Yes.
And the sheriff was there that day, and he just packed up. I said, can I have your name, please? Because I want you to stop flying over my house. And he packed himself up.
And right here he is.
Right here. Yep. And he packed himself up, and he got in his car, and they didn't have to reveal anything.
How
They
high
didn't-
would it be okay for somebody to fly over your house?
500 feet.
500 feet? So is that?
And don't touch my crops, don't touch my barn, don't touch my
Don't
pond,
open the
don't
water.
walk in the waterways.
How about an airplane? When I fly my airplane, how high?
You know what?
So until
You're-
you're threatened by my 1,500-pound airplane that's
I
full
know
of
about
fuel.
500 feet.
So what if
those
so
airplanes,
at what point do you feel threatened then?
I don't feel threatened by an airplane because they follow the rule at 500 feet.
And now
They're-
but you're pushing ultralight aircraft into general aviation aircraft.
Then you shouldn't
airspace.
be around the area where they're
That
at.
means you're asking, so you're basically putting a bicycle on the freeway because
Yeah.
we fly at 30 miles an hour versus Cessnas are at 100 miles.
Okay, let me ask this question. I agree, GA and you guys are separate entities. But I can't charge GA with criminal menacing. I am now working with local law enforcement, and we will go to the prosecuting authorities. And criminal menacing is if she feels like you're menacing her, and that means property. Somebody's going to jail. Now, let me just cut it out right now, because these guys are gonna get tired of coming out, because it is and how do I know? Because I was one of them. I'm a retired police officer, and they're gonna get tired of coming, and they're gonna get tired of coming, and you're going to go to jail. Now, ask the law enforcement guys if I'm fibbing about this. They're gonna send you to the prosecutor's office. If they can identify you, they're gonna get a warrant, somebody's gonna go to jail. And I don't think it's worth it.
And I can promise you,
Yeah.
I will start going and following you, and
So,
I will take your license
How
plate.
do we live together?
It seems like it's impossible for some people, right? I fly both. So,
Fair enough.
And in Marysville, we used to have a pretty nice field in the middle of nowhere. Let's say there was 4 or 3 mile radius of corn around it. Soccer field, grass perfect. People came there and flew from Columbus. There was a person who was a councilman and owned property sufficiently, I guess, to make a change, where now it's illegal. There's a sign that says specifically no paragliders taken out from there. So now
Is that a, let me understand, is that a park or is that a,
it's a county recreational park.
Okay.
So it's like a soccer.
and and that's their prerogative.
That's true.
So I get that. Okay, keep
Point
going.
being that Marysville Airport is 4 miles away, right? So his stance was, you guys need to go to the airport, right? So we
And the
had a
airport
site,
says no,
of
of
course,
course.
right? And I don't.
I'm
like I said,
with you.
I don't want. I would not fly my paraglider from the airport, and I don't want to be landing a guy in a paraglider flying near me, right? So
I get it, so I'm good with that.
Right.
So the problem is space or property.
yeah, and the problem is that the public spaces are being taken away by people who have complaints for whatever reason. He didn't like the noise being 2 miles away, but he took away him singular because it was his
Oh,
initiative,
okay.
and we read the notes from the meetings. Because of him, that field is now unflyable by us. So what are people to do, right? They're gonna go take off from somewhere else,
True.
and then in the process fly over somebody's property to get to where it
Yeah.
is. So where can
Yeah,
we
okay,
fly?
here's, and I want y'all to let me talk in the back, and I think this is reasonable. What he said to me, I'm good with. If you're going from A to B and you're flying over, here's where the problem comes in. If you're getting to an altitude, that you can touch their property, and I've got them touching people's corn, that's property. Do you see where that's criminal?
Sure.
You go to jail for that, and people are gonna start going to jail for it. I get you gotta fly over somebody's house. You know, you're not in a 7.3, you're not gonna fly at 30,000 feet either. That's unrealistic. So that's why we're here to talk. So, let's say you said 500 and you say 100 feet. Okay? Let's just magically say 100 feet's okay. Alright? And everybody goes, yeah, that's pretty reasonable. If something happens, whatever, get that. Do you not agree that flying at or below a silo or barn level is a little unreasonable?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
And I think I came in a little bit late.
No,
but
it's,
I have never seen anybody do that, and I know hundreds of people who fly.
and I have about 10
And
videos
I
that
believe
do.
it because
And honestly, that's why I'm
I
here.
can find 1 in a million chance of somebody throwing a basketball. across
So I
the
get it.
lane.
So-
So it happens.
Well, here's the thing.
Right. You're
What
gonna find
happens
it
if
with
I
phones.
shoot a gun and you're flying 100 feet over my property and you get an ass full of $4? What's gonna happen then?
I don't know what is the purpose of this question. Where are you going with this?
Well, you talking people flying at 100 feet?
I don't think you can
I
murder
guarantee you,
people.
I got buckshot on reach 100
Can he
feet.
murder people?
So are you
Matter of
saying you were
fact, I
gonna
got
shoot
somebody
anything that says
flying
it's legal to murder?
last year.
People?
He has a gun. He's got a gun.
He has a gun range where he
Training
changed dogs and birds.
Yeah.
So him shooting in the air is very legal. Will there be problems? Yes. So we're trying to avoid this whole cluster mess where these guys don't have to work all kinds of overtime, and I mean either. So,
And I don't want to get shot, and I don't want to fly
Yeah.
over your house. But the
So-
thing is,
You need to tell these other guys that because they do it all
I
the
don't need to
time.
tell
Is there
anybody
a-
anything because I don't know
Whoever's
them.
doing it.
Okay.
I came from like 2.5 hours.
and that's fine. Do you think there's some way we could get the word out that does need to, we need some sort of meeting here, and that has to stop?
I mean,
I don't, you guys do this. You guys kind of know the people. You talk to folks, word gets out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it. So I think to keep doing what you're doing is take the heat off of that and be reasonable to the people around you. And I think if you're reasonable to the people around you, you may get a little bit better reception of, hey, I got an empty field. Maybe you guys could fly here, you know. You get more with honey than you do shit. Now, let me just be perfectly honest. So I think the folks would be a lot more reasonable with you if you could get collectively. Now, I'm asking on the back, do you agree with what I just said?
I collectively believe that I would like them not to fly over Anderson Road. There's a dog range, shooting range. They've already invaded our privacy. They frequently trespass, menaced. I think they need to not be doing Anderson Road.
Okay, well,
Because
that's not gonna happen. I gotta be honest, I can't stop them from.
My dad owns that property on Anderson Road, so that area there, I think he would feel comfortable in saying he does not want anyone landing, flying over
What,
there.
landing, yes, but you're not gonna be able to stop them from flying
Fly
over.
500 feet, fly all you want. I enjoy watching them, but I don't want them touching my property or walking across my pond. If one of them drowns in my pond, are they gonna sue me? Sure they are.
All right, well,
I'm gonna sue him.
Well,
for my
let me ask you this
millions of
question. Let's cut the number out. Just humor. Cut the number out.
And every night, it gets old. I mean, hell, I got a $12,000 outdoor kitchen. I got a bunch of people over for a birthday party, and we couldn't even talk for them damn flying over your head.
Well,
It gets old.
I understand, but hear me out. We all have to live together somehow. They have to go from A to B. So they're gonna fly over. What I'm trying to produce here is something that's reasonable for all of us. I mean, and I think you guys agree, the touching the ground, the buildings.
So we're all here because we kind of believe in the same thing. We want to be able to fly. We don't.
And I want you to fly.
And we want to have fun, and we don't want to piss people off. I mean, when somebody, there's always that 50-50 shot when I fly and somebody's angry because I flew over their, their property, at 100 feet or something. I don't really fly low unless I know the owner of the property.
And I don't think, and I'm speaking for the group, I get you want to have fun to go do stuff, and I don't have that problem. And I get going from here to there.
So
The biggest crutch is the touching down, the hitting the corn, the foot thingamabobber. I'm okay doing that in a place you're allowed to do it. Can we somehow come to that
So-
piece?
I
Not touching property, flying and not touching property.
Yeah,
So
don't fly between two silos for Christ's sake. Do you know what I mean? I would say above them.
So you have a dozen paraglider pilots here, right? If we all
Okay.
tell our friends, now you doubled it, so you got 2 dozen. There's
Okay.
a lot more than that.
There is, but
so
that too-
where's the information and the education piece going?
Well, this is where we're starting with this. And then we need to continue to grow this because that's why I have a fast team. I have to help you, and I have to help these folks too. And I also have an obligatory requirement to law enforcement, okay? So we have to start something. So I think it starts being good neighbors. And even y'all need to understand, you may not get everything you want. Staying off the property, doing the foot drags, don't go between the silos. I mean, come on, I get it's probably cool, I'm not gonna lie about it, but you just can't do it. I mean, because it could be construed as criminal menacing, and do you really want them to go get a warrant to go to jail for something stupid and have to go to court? Seriously, is it really worth that when maybe you could find an empty field, or maybe they can say, hey, there's this field here, fly your rear ends on. We need to work together.
Is it possible for the fast team to work with USPPA and?
Absolutely, and I will let Jason and Joe talk
Can
about
somebody
it.
type in?
They've already been in contact.
Yeah, type in an address, say don't fly here below 300 feet.
Yeah, they've already been in contact. They have had about a 30-minute conversation.
But this is a start. Do I think we're going to get it resolved? No, we're not. But I'm just trying to get some word out and give everybody some relief. Is that? I don't think I'm asking too much.
I think
Please.
I'm new here, so I'm probably that's the reason I'm not saying so much. But I just started flying this year, paraglider. So I haven't done any of that. I don't even know how to do that. But I think it's
You
very.
will soon if you get with him.
But he's not an instructor.
I'm not an
Remember, he's
instructor.
not an instructor.
You learn on your own too.
I just wanted to say that I think we are all agreeing that it shouldn't happen. We know that it's happening. We do want to stop it. I think all we are trying to figure out is how do we stop it.
Yeah, and
I'm not saying that any of this is right.
But also
Yeah,
come up with
and-
reasonable rules, right? Because I think there's some people who will always be unhappy about no matter who flies over your property, right? No matter what altitude. We just
No,
don't want
no,
somebody
no,
flying
no,
over.
Jude.
So I think we want to,
don't see the
and
right
also
side.
the other thing is how high I am. I've had that too. Is very different from what you think how high I am. I might be at 500 feet, and you say no, you're at 200. So I've had.
now that I will agree with.
I've had that happen.
Perception is reality, but
500 feet is not that much.
so we need to get to the point. They're allowed to fly over. I got to stick up for them too. I get
That I
that.
get.
What we're trying to stop and get some control over is the super low altitude touching stuff, flying by your barn.
That's
The
why.
Fly over the
silos.
property continuously. You say point A to B, is point A to point B, back to point A, back to point B, back to point A. Flying under them damn high tension power lines, walking down the road.
Okay.
Walking down the
Now
road.
you just said to me 3 different things, and you gotta understand. Hang on. Well, I said I'm gonna keep control. 3 things. They can go A to B to C to D to E. I can't control that no more than these folks facilities.
I'm
So
not
understand that
disagreeing
piece,
with that.
but then you said, touching down. We all were agreeing this touching down thing's gotta quit. The A to B to C to D to E. I get people that live around here too that are mad because Dave flies a pattern every day about 400 times. You can ask him, there's nothing I can do. You gotta move. I'm being brutally honest.
They get real upset when they drop that truth come in.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do, there's nothing law enforcement can do to help that. The airspace for these guys, they're allowed to do that. I will, and I support that because that's what they do. They're not causing any harm. You may not like it, and I'm sorry, but I'm trying to be as honest and transparent as I possibly can. I can't stop that. That is their right, and I'm okay with that.
And
I
where
think
does the nuisance come in?
the problem with, let's say, criminal damaging, criminal menacing, those things, is when they start touching your property, they tear up your property, or they are at such an altitude that would be construed at or below a building height. That's what you do, because there's very little out there. You even mentioned about, and you kind of put me on the spot, I owe you an answer from between. They're not regulated, but yet 107s are. Well, the 107s are more regulated because it's a commercial entity. These guys are not. Now, why they're not regulated, I have no idea. You would have to ask the Inter of Washington, D.C., because we can only go by the rules in the box we're stuck in. So that I don't know, but the 107s are done for the commercial reasons. If that helps the answer. But
Yeah,
you had another question.
It does, but I agree with your comment about what you prosecutor, but if you can't identify them, because they have no registration and they won't tell you their name, or they run off and land in the field and the van picks them up and away they go, there's no way to identify them.
They can stop them and ask them, should they be close enough? And there's a lot of I don't want to stick my law enforcement friends in a bad spot either. But if they're close and they find them, they'll get their identification. I can 100% assure you that will not be a problem.
They'll fly away as my experience.
And it may happen, but it's karma. We all speed. Probably to include these fellas, and I am a retired police officer, I'll tell you. We all speed.
I
It just-
never speed, what are you talking
Yes.
about?
I want to keep him here for a while so I can leave first before you get out there and set up on us. But it's kind of like the United. Why did you get us? He hears it all the time. Well, because we got that person. There's other speed. There is. You just.
The analogy I use, when you go fishing, you catch every fish in the pond. You don't. You catch a couple, right? That's just how it works.
And you're mad at him because that's his job. You hate us because we take your license away flying. So it's the same. You can't. He's right. You can't get them all. We all do the best we can. So for us, technically, I don't have a dog in this fight, but I have a vested interest in the community. I have a vested interest in law enforcement. Dave, with all these pilots who happen to know me here, and everybody that works for me, we have to get along. So I think talking's good. Are we all gonna walk out here and agree? Nope. And that's okay too. But I need to make a little stride. So I think we did. We think some of the things are wrong, and we should probably get some word out and stop those things, or that could result in, for us, it just is. Because the folks are tired of it. I get that, I appreciate that. I wouldn't like it. You wouldn't like it either on your property. Somebody's doing something drug crazy. Could it be something? Please, sir.
If I was a property owner and I had a problem, what would be a suggested course of action that I might take that might be a reasonable course of action? Do I approach someone nicely and ask them, hey, what's going on? What are you up to? I saw this. Is that reasonable to change this?
I should be very
Do I
careful
skip
in that
that
answer.
and go
Well,
straight to authorities? What do I do?
You need to be comfortable. And I'm never going to tell you to go out and talk to someone. If you feel it is of that nature, then you feel you need to call the local law enforcement, please call the local law enforcement. And sometimes they say, well, that's fine, and then call the FAA. And then you're going to call us, and what am I supposed to do? There's nothing we can do. So I'm here to tell you, legally there is nothing I can do other than take their pilot's license, which I can do even though they fly that. That's my prerogative. But it's starting to fall under a criminal nature, something what law enforcement side deals with, and I would say we would probably deal with a local prosecutor for those issues. Yes, ma'am.
being on the board at this airport, we had several occasions dealing with them giving lessons here in our airport. And the biggest problem we had was when you go out and you try and explain to them, you know, this is an airport and they're running down the middle of the runway, you know, taking off when we've got airplanes in the air and stuff like that. These are things they're not supposed to be doing. They immediately would get an attitude.
Hostile.
And just get really smart with us, you know, and we're trying to explain to them, you know, let's work, we tried to work with them and that kind of stuff and just explain to them, you know, there were times you can't be out running up and down the runway when you've got students in the air flying and that kind of stuff.
So let me ask the question.
Okay.
Let's say a group drew up some rules, some guidelines, and they followed these guidelines. Would some places be amenable to maybe working together at an airport? And I just asked this as a question. Is that even a realistic ask? Does that make sense? If someone, Dave, and I want both of you,
Yeah.
let's say these four got together and said, hey, this is what we like to do, we like to train, we like to fly. Okay, here are the ground rules, period. No questions asked. And then you guys would make sure your students or your whatever follow those guidelines. You get to fly, you get to do your things, whatever they decided to yield or go what, those kind of things. But there would have to be some, if one of them didn't follow rules, you'd have to get rid of them. Or whatever you agreed to. Is that something even worth broaching a conversation over?
Well, the biggest problem is that they don't have any radio communication. So when they're up there flying around and they're around an airport, they don't know if there's other airplanes in the traffic pattern and that kind of stuff that are talking. And
That's not necessarily an issue, because I have a friend that flies old warbirds and he doesn't have a radio either.
But he's already made
but
that
he's up there
flight
flying and they're. But this was the problem we had.
Okay.
Was, you know, they were just, well, we even had them running down the hill over here and then crossing the runway trying to take off from here.
Which is a little crazy. I should.
Yeah, so, I mean, when we try and work with them, but then they, you know, would get these attitudes and finally, and I don't have any say, this is county property, everybody can be here, you know, I can't tell anybody they can't.
I didn't get
be
reinforcements.
here. So, but,
I had thought of an idea, because I also work in Greene County, and I see the little remote control airports that.
The RC people?
Yes, the RC people. You guys would probably be able to partner with them quite easy, because they don't fly every day. And guess what? Those RC places, they have a runway. They also are already connected with the farmer that put the RC place in place. They don't mind having that go on.
There was actually an RC glider at was it Twin Towers in Greene County? I asked if I could fly there, and the county told me no.
Those aircraft have like 2-inch wheels, and the runways are super specific to ruts. And
Well-
even just running down the
So
runway.
they said no, and you
Please.
guys were okay, and didn't go bother them again.
Yeah, I was just surprised to hear that comment on the airport, because the first thing in our training we were explained that airports are controlled, dangerous, restricted areas. They have a certain area where I should not be going. So I'm actually surprised that someone did not hear that, but that is already there in USPP. We already told that we shouldn't.
So
be
as you
shooting
see,
airports.
some bad apples are creating y'all grief and shrinking your area of usage to enjoy. So how do we expand? Please, Dave.
We had, like you said, right here, doing paragliding work here for a while, and I had no problem with paragliding. They both fly early morning and late evenings because of the wind and turbulence. The issues that I did have, though, had to do dealing mostly with the chutes themselves, laying them out across runways, taxiways, and then leaving them here. And I think Leanne LD, and he was monitoring that and using that handheld radio to help communicate, so we knew where they were at, and additionally we were able to do that.
Safety standpoint, about how high can you guys go? Just without putting yourselves in danger.
We easily over 10,000, 14,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been up to 7. And then I just lost interest.
Legally
They
18,000.
They climb really
I
slow.
didn't know they done that. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So if you look on YouTube, there's Europeans that set records in the 20s on these things.
Don't go that high because you're breathing.
Yeah.
It's good.
Controlled airspace, we're limited to Air Class A. That's the hard
I
number.
don't think it's all 10,000 feet. Am I wrong in that?
Well,
I'd
there's
say it
different,
starts at
there's
18,000.
cloud clearances that we have to abide by when we're in Class E. But, Class G is just clear cloud.
Primarily cannot be Class A.
And when you guys are operating, you've got your engine going, you're in flight or whatever. How is it? Are you guys able to hear? Like, is there too much wind noise over your ears? Too much engine noise?
Well, I have hearing protection, and it's pretty popular to run from the motorcycle community. Are you familiar with the Senna? So I have a Senna on my helmet so that I can actually just listen to music. I can take calls. I can call on the phone.
I run a little superbike.
The other thing that's getting really popular that a lot of pilots are flying with is there's a smartphone app called Gaggle that actually gives us ADS-B traffic advisories for general aviation.
We're looking out here outside if that's what you're asking. Like, it's impossible. Somebody could be shooting.
Yeah,
you can't see. You're not gonna hear.
You're not
Well, where I was getting at was with devices such as that, you guys at least have the capability to maybe do some sort of radio communication. Maybe.
Well, let me jump in about that point with the radio. Those headsets have a Bluetooth, and I have, what is it, an 810 or something, an ICOM radio that is a backup from an airplane. It is Bluetooth capable. I link it to my headset, and I can be on the radio. The problem is talking, because your radio is somewhere and you need your hands to steer, but you can definitely listen and monitor traffic.
Okay.
So, this point of what rules would it take, there's definitely, I think, some ground rules that could be set, and those people could sign the paper with their information, and you could have their glider make and model, and you would know who they are. And those are the only ones allowed. It could very easily be done away. Right now, if you approach any airport, the automatic is no. You're not
Well,
flying here.
and I believe, based on why we're here, can you understand?
To some
And it's
degree.
not you guys, but
No, but let me jump in and throw in another thing, because I came in late, and I know you guys are upset, but please let me throw out when I fly, what happens. There's a field that I think nobody's using, it's nobody's property, it's either a church or something, I usually go ask, right? And then when I take off, I fly within a 1 mile radius because it goes so slow. So I take off, I maybe make a circle, maybe the conditions are not so good, it's a little bumpy, because we can't take much turbulence. And then I think, okay, I flew my half hour and I come back. But during that whole half hour, I could be very well within the noise radius of whoever's on the ground. And to them, it looks like I'm just messing with them. We don't see who's on the ground after we start flying. We don't look. We're looking forward to controlling our glider. We're not trying to annoy people or piss them off or whatever. We're just flying, trying to keep ourselves safe. I'm looking out for airplanes more than anything. I'm looking out to for possible outs. That's it.
and I'm perfectly good with that.
So-
because you went somewhere, you asked them,
Yep.
they said, yeah, that's fine.
But the problem is that site is across the street from a development now, because that first site, which
And that may hinder.
So
So,
do I
you
go
got to
and
keep
ask
moving
them,
and
right?
keep moving. And,
well, that site is okay, but I bet you the guys, if they were like you possibly, the guys across the street, definitely don't enjoy the fact that I'm taking off there every other night. Which, by the way, I probably do only like 40 times a year.
and I understand
so.
sometimes.
But on the other hand,
it's
I'll tell
just
you,
reality.
yeah. On the other hand, I'll tell you, there is a guy that contacted me on Facebook because I was selling my old paraglider wing, and he was like, "Hey, I want to buy your wing." And I started asking him questions like, "What do you know?" And he was gonna strap it to PPC, which is, I think it goes beyond ultralight range because it's actually an
Sport
unregistered.
pilot, right.
Yeah, and he was gonna take a paraglider wing to PPC, which is a four-wheel, a Rotax-driven contraption, and use this wing, which is made for 200-pound person. So there's people like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And
That's what keeps us in the
very much-
job.
Right. But what I'm saying is that we are in control of that, and there's a lot of people who are out there just go and try that thing.
And there is. So, and here's the
So I want
ask.
us all to live together.
Yeah,
right?
here's the
Right?
ask. So he wants education, and we do too. So we need to start here and start growing it. You know, maybe you could have a contact with one of these folks and say, hey, there's such and such a paraglider. That do you know who that is? And they may not tell you, but you can go up. No, you got to knock this off because you're making this look bad. You're giving. I don't want them to shrink your area of what you can do.
If I'm not
But
that
if someone
one,
came
yeah.
and said like, hey, this is my property, this is what's happening, like, and approached in a kind, reasonable manner, and said, could you not fly over my property, or could you mark on some sort of local map that people look at, or maybe host it on a website, just try not to fly over here, it creates havoc. Would you try to avoid that a little bit, or would you go back and 100 times?
If you came and said that to me, I would.
You'd probably try to avoid it.
I would say, hey, I
I
didn't
mean, you
know,
catch
sorry.
more
But I
flies
think-
with honey, right? So when somebody says, hey, can you please not fly over, like, absolutely, I'm not, won't do it.
Yeah, and I think now we're just trying to gain some awareness for everybody. So,
Yeah, but sometimes you go and talk to them. Myself personally, I've talked to them 4 different times. 2 times I almost got beaten. The other 2 times, the guy told me, said, it ain't none of your damn business what we do. Get off of my property and leave them alone. That's exactly what I was told.
you made a statement on me clarifying. You said,
on the pond.
you said off my property. Were you on someone else's property?
At that, they took off from someone else's property and went over to mine.
And then they landed on yours.
They were walking across my field.
Okay, yeah, and I get that, but that's where you need these folks.
I did call the sheriff.
Okay.
I did call the sheriff, and they come out, and the deputy told him, he said, the paraglider got real smart with the deputy.
Yeah, that usually doesn't work too well with these fellas because I'm a retired one.
Well, let me tell you, because I've dealt with this here. in this
Yeah.
county.
Please
I was
talk,
not
Sarge.
gonna say anything.
Please.
Me and this gentleman's had good conversations the first 2 times. Well aware of where her property is.
Okay.
Well aware, right?
Sure.
And I believe that you tried to put all the people with you. And then the last time we dealt, well, I don't know, I can't keep everybody out of it. But it's an ongoing thing. I was very nice both times we talked the first time. I don't have any problem with you guys, but it's harassing on purpose. I'm not saying you, but it's very clearly harassing, and it's very clearly where her property is.
And I do not doubt that. And these guys are going to get tired of it because I was one too, and it wears them out. And we're going
You were
to.
at my house also.
So they will eventually start sending people to prosecutors,
Here,
and
here's
somebody's
a
going to
video.
go to jail.
Walking on the pond. If anybody wants to see it.
I have all the videos, sir.
So what I need to know now is what can I do to make it so it's menacing, trespassing? How do I get their identification? They don't have any, no, they,
No, it is yes, because that's who you got to call.
I do call them.
The issue is if they're not touching the ground, what are we charging them?
Can't see the.
If you look
that's
under,
behind the tree,
and I am
you
a
see
retired
more
guy,
down.
so if you look under, you don't have to charge them. Me, if I was a policeman, I would tell them to go to the prosecutor, and I would charge them with criminal menacing, which means under the state statute of Ohio Revised Code, and I can find it, it's 2200 and something. Your property or your person, only thing it says is you believe will be damaged or in danger.
So then how do I go and get their driver's license? How do I get their license plate? How do I go and do this so I can proceed with
Yeah,
that? Because I'm done with it.
Yeah,
It's just
and I
over.
understand, but I would caution you of going up on some folks, but you're gonna have to call law enforcement. They're going to give it to them. I assure you, as sure as I'm standing here, when they go ask, if they catch them, they're going to get the information, they will give you the information, and if you choose to go to the prosecutor's office, you can do those.
So
Everybody knows now it's trespassing after notice too.
this goes back to the information though. So I don't know where you live. I don't know where these people are flying. You guys keep saying Anderson Road. I don't even know
Well,
where
okay,
Anderson Road is.
there's a private,
So-
there's a private landing strip right that parallels
So-
73
Less than 2
and.
miles.
Wait a minute, give us a bigger area, because I don't know Anderson Road.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm saying, like.
It's less than a mile from
Okay.
here.
Can
A mile.
I-
Less than
can I
a mile.
finish?
Yeah, please, finish.
Yeah, so now we have a new pilot, we say, hey, don't fly, like 3 miles due east. There's no GPS. There's a new guy in the area, he doesn't know where not to fly. We try to tell him, but then they take off and are they gonna get now criminal harassment because they didn't know where
Well,
uncharted?
no.
Okay, let me ask you
Wait
this
a minute,
question.
hang on.
Okay,
Let me talk.
okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Here's where you're gonna get in problems. I've said it, and I've said it. And I'm gonna tell you in front of the law enforcement guys. If you're flying low, if you're touching their ground, hear me out. If you're flying between their buildings, they're gonna call the law enforcement. They're gonna come out, and somebody's going to jail. I'm telling you, if they gotta go to the prosecutor's office, this isn't gonna stop. This will stop. So, let's not play verbal judo here.
I don't disagree with touching the ground, and that's
If
too
you're
low.
flying between their barns, that's ridiculous.
Flying over a restricted area.
It's not a restricted area, it's not.
Can I say, I'll say something real quick.
Please.
Okay, at this runway over here where they take off, when they get 100 feet in the air, maybe even 60 feet, where they get overlook this
Power
this
line.
8-acre woods, what do they see? Our property and our pond. You cannot miss it if you're 100 feet in the air. You cannot miss that property.
The water.
But them flying over is fine. We're back to,
Yeah, be 400, 500 feet. I don't care.
I asked that gentleman and that gentleman there to please not fly over and touch my Anderson Road. These gentlemen know. I talked to them both in front of with the sheriff with me.
okay.
And I hope it's been heard today, and I hope I can get their driver's license, and if I find them again, they go to jail. I don't want them near my farm, my dad's farm. I don't want them near John's hunting facility.
Well,
I just think it's.
but that's unreasonable.
They could be 500 feet, they could be 200 feet.
And again,
I don't want them.
but you said you don't want them over. Well,
Well,
that's not realistic.
That's not realistic, but you know what?
but
They
I-
were not very forthright people when I dealt with them in front of
And
the
I
sheriff,
understand.
And I'm very worried
I-
that
I-
they would be
I am new
retaliatory,
to
they would
this
be
show, ma'am.
retaliatory. Yeah. I'm
So
just
we
saying.
have to start somewhere.
I'm just worried that they'd be retaliatory, and then if you guys say it's 125 feet, guess
Well,
what?
I don't know,
They
but
buzz me
and when you say
125 feet.
retaliatory, explain that to me.
Like if we made rules today, I think that they would skirt the rules as much as they could. That's
What if
my-
it's not them?
Well, I know for sure 2 of the gentlemen have done it on multiple occasions because my sheriff and deputy has been there and has seen it. Now, there's no way, they don't have ID on their wings,
And
so
I
it's not
understand
like
that.
we can't.
I'm not telling
can't.
you that the task you're asking is easy.
Yes.
And I'm sure the sheriff's department and the Highway Patrol would tell you the same. It's not an easy task. But at some point, those things become repetitive with people, not just these guys, with whatever the genre is. And at some point, local law enforcement will have to get involved, and will he arrest them on the spot? No, that's not his job, that's not his position. And I don't want to speak out of turn for you, Sergeant. More than likely, they will probably send you to a prosecutor to have that conversation, and they will make a decision, because it isn't us that make that decision, we're not judge, jury, and executioner. But,
My problem is though, I still don't know who they are from Adam.
and understand,
And like the one guy said, he just pulls into a field and takes off.
well, that's
So
what
how-
they do.
Yeah,
Like, if they
but
go to a
my-
field,
but-
they take off.
But my problem
If
is.
you're after me, I'm probably gonna take off too, to be
But
honest.
how am I ever gonna find them then? I
Well,
mean,
Again, I'm not saying it's an easy task. There's cameras, there's video, there's lots of avenues to be able to positively identify somebody. And then once that's done, and I would like the law enforcement guys to agree, disagree with me.
I have something to say. It's more of a question. Because, like I said, we got along fine. We talked the first 2 times. This last time, it completely changed. I think because you knew that those guys were in the wrong. I'm not going to put words in, but and whatever. I didn't have a crime. That's why they weren't ID'd. It didn't happen. We went up to their property. Had no reason to ID them. They weren't committing a crime per se. The problem I have is that's a very easy form to point out to guys that are coming flying over. It's very easy to point out. Don't go that direction.
It really is.
It's not difficult. So why is that not happening? Would be the question.
Yeah, so we made a map, we put it on the map, we put a big red square around it. We told everyone we know, hey guys, they don't like it, don't go there. We have lots of places we can fly, right?
Okay.
Like almost anywhere. So we're not gonna target one place where we know people don't want you to be. We're gonna avoid that place.
And if you have to fly over it, I don't think anyone's gonna have a problem.
Sure.
The
We
problem
put the
comes
word out as
in
much as possible.
when you're doing things that you probably shouldn't be. Can I
Right.
say you, but I don't.
Sure.
When people are
The
doing,
Paramotor
so,
people,
but
yeah.
that's where it's reducing your fun factor, or you do need to be our ambassador and kind of hop on it because.
That's my thing. You guys know who is doing it.
Yeah.
We
put the
can
word
act
out
like you guys
constantly
don't.
to
When it's
anyone
happening,
who
you guys
might
might
be
don't let them back.
flying in an area where they shouldn't be flying.
They
Tell them
don't.
it's
They
easy
don't
to not
always.
go there, just
No,
go
they do.
somewhere. The dude that was there that night, there was a guy that flew close to her property for sure. And we told him, dude, what are you doing? You're not supposed to fly there. He said he missed the briefing. I don't know how, but either way, he heard all about it, and we definitely know it won't happen again. So
That's all you can truly ask. Okay. I have to take him at his word. I mean, I don't know him from a can of paint more than he does me. So,
If it does happen again, though, you have to realize that's not his fault. You know, that's not this group's fault. That's on that person
and the only
that
thing
is
I'm saying
choosing
is,
to
you
ignore
may
it.
know that person.
sometimes we do. A lot of times we really
Yeah,
don't.
and sometimes people show up. Dude, I get it. Trust me. And the police officers know that.
Yeah.
Look,
Everyone in
they've been
group
doing this
of
a long, long
motorcycles
time.
doesn't know everyone in the group.
Yeah, you don't. You just start riding, and I get it. That's
Someone
what I
shows
do.
up, they send it, now they're in the group.
Yeah. So, but the idea is to start getting word out more and more. Like, hey, man, this is creating you guys a
We
problem.
really do.
So we're just trying
At this
to.
point, it doesn't seem like it, but really,
It's a growing sport, and it's going to become more of an issue.
And it will.
But I think like this conversation you started about what is reasonable, I think would go a lot because the initial, and I'm certainly by no means like a rebel and want to break rules, but man, like you go, when we were flying out of that sports complex, which is again in the middle of nowhere, the farmer / councilman that owns all the land around it came in like, hey, this is my United States of America, and you guys are going to get arrested. And so we kind of get these interactions out of the beginning from
Yeah,
people who
and
just
I get
say, we don't want you to fly 500 feet or above. And we gotta have a reasonable conversation about that because these machines are not made to be flying.
You're not gonna fly real high, and
Yeah.
and I get it.
And
You'll be
it's
flying
dangerous,
200
too.
feet, and it
Right.
looks like.
I don't want you flying real high.
Yeah,
As a
we do
pilot.
need some reasonableness in this, and I
I'll
get,
agree to that.
I fly too, so I understand. So that's why I try and drop the altitude piece with everybody, because I don't really know if that's part of this conversation. I think it's more, like we were talking, if you're below a building level, that is unreasonable to me.
More
Yeah,
of a distance
we can
thing,
say
right?
tree level. is
Yeah,
just
don't, yeah, and
wrong.
don't be touching their property, don't fly between the silos, between the barn. If you gotta go over them to go somewhere, rock on, I don't think, nobody will say a word to you, I don't think that is unreasonable.
It's all perfectly reasonable.
Go ahead,
I
Dave.
just wanted to ask here, and let mention to Jason over here about, I did mention when I first started the introduction here, about holding additional safety meetings. I've been told, I don't know if this is true, that if we did have these meetings, nobody would show up, so I have to see that seriously.
Do you think it'd be worth it to have some sort of meeting
We can do
or
these as
or
web-based.
or something to promote it?
I think so.
And would you help me promote it? If we did these as web air meetings, would you as
At airports,
FAA help to
specifically.
promote this?
You can get our
and
airport
promote the
managers
safety
to have
issue
these
and the education?
Help a lot.
If it was Weber, I think it
Because
would
many
be a
people do talk
huge
about
bonus.
this, but they're
I
not
think
good.
that's
And you
where
guys
we
can
go.
educate us too.
Yeah, because I have two fast guys, and this is what they do for a living for the agency. They do general aviation education. I would suggest y'all get with these two fellas and have the conversation. Let's work something out. Let's see if we can promote what you're doing, and you help us at the same time, and we try and help you. It's the only way this is going to work for all of us. Yes, sir.
I can't understand, they've been flying over me now, 4 years, I think,
Okay.
constantly. And I don't understand why they don't have any common courtesy or any respect for the people down below them. Like at that time I was having the birthday party for my granddaughter. You couldn't hear yourself think. There was 4 of them above me. Ring, ring, just kept buzzing around over top like they're trying to see what's going on. And I live in the woods.
And I
They're
understand.
right above the top of the trees.
Can I offer something as somebody who does this? Believe me, I'm sure nobody was trying to intentionally ruin your night. It's really just lack of
Well, the
knowledge.
week before, the sheriff, this gentleman right here was with me.
Maybe, but I very much doubt that somebody was actually.
Yeah, I don't
trying
think
to-
someone was out there. How would they know you're having
Yeah.
a party or something? I don't think.
Who's little town, there's people everywhere.
We don't. We
But
don't
you're
look-
not understanding their perception, their view. They can't see you from what they're doing. I've never flown one of these things, but I am cognizant enough to know that they are looking so far forward for some other things that the only way they're going to see that is to have a straight on view. Now, you guys tell me if I'm wrong there, but that's how I see it.
Well, that area right there where we're talking about here now, and we fly over that 30 times a day.
Don't bother me.
It doesn't bother
And we're
us.
about 700 feet above the ground approximately, when we do come over the top of that little airport over there. And I'm sure you guys are watching for airplanes.
Them things are loud when they're right above the top of them trees. There's some of them things sound like the 1260cc Suzuki I used to race, drag race. Them things are loud, some of them are real loud.
So I think in that
Please.
location, we're trying to avoid all these places we know about for sure. But again, as Dave said, they're coming through there at 700 feet. So none of us are going to fly anywhere near 500
No,
feet.
you're gonna be lower than
Because we're
that, not
trying
get
to
run
avoid-
over.
We don't
I
wanna
get
die,
that.
right.
With us.
I would certainly hope that, because the last thing I need to do is for me to call one of these folks to go out to the accident, because then they're gonna be mad at me, and they gotta go out and clean y'all up, and it's just a mess. So, and I joke about it, but again, we have to have some reasonableness here. So, let's, and I don't wanna keep everybody forever, can we continue to have dialogue periodically? Somehow, some ways, everybody willing to have dialogue.
Just respect my property is the only thing I ask.
Yeah,
That's it.
and I
Fly
think,
all you want.
and that's what I think
Just
we're trying to
respect my
get to.
property.
And I think that's a reasonable request. Guys,
Same way.
Yeah, and
respect my
we
property.
in this group can, promise we're all going to pass the word. to
that's
everyone
all you
else
can do.
as
I
much as
can't hold you to
possible.
any accountability like, look, you'll hold me 3 blocks down. Well, you don't know what he's doing. I get that. All I'm asking for is you guys to pass the word who you know and just try and get the word out. Hey, look, just don't do these crazy things because the heat's coming down on us. That's really, I think, the message for tonight. And then if they need help, I have 2 guys that will help you.
But what about the altitude? Because that's a stickler for a lot of people.
Well,
Flying over is not going to be.
No, I think a distance.
Alright.
We all know what a reasonable distance.
Yeah, use your,
from a
if you're
person.
at or below, my opinion, if you are at or below someone's garage, silo or something, that is unreasonable, and I got a funny feeling that most prosecutors would find that unreasonable.
Yeah.
If you're above those and not touching them, I think that's reasonable. I, again, don't want you really high like Dave either.
And-
So, does that correlate to reasonableness?
But I think the noise issue is still there.
Well,
Yeah.
we can't help that. Now, we're kind of stuck on
Well,
some
let
of
me
it.
ask you guys.
We gotta
here,
give and take a little bit.
The property owners, is there where you can have a sign? I don't know your property. I'm like I said, I'm not from around here, but is there some way you can put up a sign or something that could be
All you gotta do
readable?
is stay off Anderson Road.
Yeah, that's
Well, you say that
He
again,
owns
but
3/4 and I own the rest.
I have no idea where that is.
That's it.
One field is another
Well,
field.
you just know, never fly Anderson Road.
You get 100 feet in the air, you see a pond, barn, and silo, stay away from it, please.
Well,
You see another
they're
fly-
gonna fly over it.
Well, don't get down and walk on my pond.
That's reasonable. Flying over it, I've seen up there. There's nothing these fellas can do for you. Nothing.
Now, are they allowed to touch down on Anderson Road? Because that's another issue.
That's a road. That's,
So they're
that's-
allowed to run the road?
that's county property. That falls under the jurisdiction of law
So
enforcement.
are they allowed to do that? That's what I wanna know, because that's another thing that is fun for them to do. They go to the curve in the road, and they run the curve.
No,
and go
you
back
cannot
up
do
again.
that because now you're putting people and property
That's what,
at risk, and these guys have to do that.
I have that on
This-
video too,
but-
but then I have no idea.
And this isn't a property owner problem. then this becomes a state, municipality, county council kind of issue.
And if one of these little kids that, I mean, if there was an accident and they got killed. And
We don't want to die either,
kids
like
saw
we're
that,
kids. We don't want to get crushed by a car.
but
Why does it have to be always kids? We all want to live.
No, but I'm saying if the kids saw that, it would be traumatizing for them.
Well,
It's traumatizing for my family. If I did.
Yeah, so,
I'm not trying to die.
but no, they can't do it on the road either, but that would fall under these folks' jurisdiction.
Okay.
Is that?
Right
Please.
here is where they take off, right here. You get up there 100
It's a
feet.
free.
and
Set it
No,
up.
I was just
I'm
gonna
down.
say, is
I got
that
you covered too.
is that dangerous to people and property? I mean, isn't that
You landing on the road?
if
It's
they're-
illegal.
Is it?
Unless it's an
Yeah, it
emergency.
is illegal for you to land on the road because it is unsafe. It's called criminal menacing. And if these guys show up and see you do that,
I've never done it. I don't.
you will go to jail. Which I have no dog in the fight. I don't care.
You just encouraged me to ask a question. You're doing kind
And
of.
I'm not anything. Trust me.
All right.
They'll tell you. This is not even close to upset.
Okay.
Not even remotely. I'm just being.
He's not kidding either.
I'm being completely transparent with you.
Okay.
Because you kind of made the question sound like you're kind of mocking me and being
I was
funny.
absolutely. I was not. Absolutely. I
So
was
I'm
not.
clarifying it for you. If you land on a public road, that will fall under the
I'm
county,
just-
the city, or the municipality. Yep, and they're going to prosecute you, and they're going to call us, and yep, I'm going to go up and say, yep, sure was.
I'm just saying, if you're at 500 feet and you see that there's no cars around,
It doesn't matter.
miles, and your engine
That's
goes
illegal.
out, and you need to make a landing.
Ask the State Highway Patrol what he
Well,
thinks
yeah.
about that particular
I
statement.
think there's
Yeah,
a difference between where it's emergency and where it's not.
Just
That was
ask
my,
the State
that
Patrol
was my
what he thinks
question.
about landing on a road.
It's
Ask
just-
the man.
No, just my personal opinion. I mean, I don't know anything about the aviation side of it, but it's just more of a safety side for people that can be traveling on the road. I know you're saying to the point of you don't see anybody around. I get that, but your safety landing on the road and things of that nature. I mean, if I saw somebody do it, it would definitely be a conversation that would need to be had, without a doubt.
Sure, I'm not saying it would be a commonplace thing.
But it
just-
is illegal. It would fall under a criminal menacing charge.
But the thing was
Under an
that you
emergency?
can't see when
No,
you're
now,
there.
see, now you're changing
No, it
it.
wasn't that. That's
No,
If it's an
I don't
emergency,
think that's part of
that's
that.
something completely different.
that was all I was trying to
But
say.
if it's just landing to do it, no, because we just can't have that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, one of the rigs owns a semi, and you land in front of me, I'm not stopping. Not because I don't want to, I will mash you. Whether you say you see me or not, you're getting run over.
Good to know.
Then how is that my fault?
Okay.
But
Yeah, I mean,
It's like getting the
like
bicycle
the emergency
itself.
side of it is different, right? Like
that's a
you said-
whole different category.
Right.
But there is no sense in this. Why would you want to land in a road? Just to do it.
All right. I think you still think I was asking in a mocking manner, and I really wasn't. I was not trying to pick a fight. I was just asking for the sake of knowledge. I think the majority of the people are here.
If the property's not yours or you're allowed to land on it, you're not allowed to land there. Short of an emergency or something crazy. And I think that's what we've all agreed to.
Sounds good.
Is that, please, sir.
I like what I heard earlier about communication with the USPPA. I think education and information is a big part of this.
I really do, and I hope my folks talk with these guys with that group, and we can get something started with that. Because I do think that would help. I think that would get word out better.
I've met a lot of paramotor pilots, and I've flown in about 7 or 8 states, and the vast majority are respectful. It's
I have no doubt. They're just trying to have a good time. Here's the difference. Their good time and your good time may be diametrically opposed, and that's some of the problem, and I understand that. We just need to respect everything and come to a general consensus.
I think it could be effective if we could communicate some of this to the USPPA. They could get the word out in a much larger way.
Yeah, more than we can here in this group, more than me and
I
these
don't know
guys.
any of the other pilots, any of the other
Put it on their
paramotor pilots
website.
in this room.
Put it out there in cyberspace.
That's the thing with USPPA, if I was looking at their website,
No, but it will
one
get
of
it.
the things I noticed, I didn't see the receipt.
Are you going to get it all? No, we're never going to get it all.
There's always a good place to start, but the other part needs to happen that I think pushes some people to think that aren't quite as good as they could have been. the conversation back to the other side, right? Who's owned by everything. Like you said, when I'm doing kind of work at Marysville, those guys who bought that house a year ago are calling and complaining every day. You're bought a freaking house at the end of the wrong way. Right, I know, but they call anyway.
They do. But they do, and I understand that. And that's always going to be the thing.
That's true, because there is already laws that say that they're protected as pilots, but as paragliding pilots, there are no protected
They're not.
laws. And so now these
But
things
you're
are
not,
popping up.
and I just try and avoid that line with criminal doing something, that
Yeah.
stuff.
And I think
That's
we all
something
agree
I-
there.
yeah.
But just
to fly around?
For some people, that's also my property. You can see me down there taking a bath or whatever. I heard all kinds of things. Right?
There's nothing none of us can do about that.
But
That,
you
that
guys
is
still-
just life.
You're gonna get complaints, right?
Oh,
It'd be
we're all
nice
gonna
to
get
kind of have these
complaints.
ground rules so that we can tell those people, hey, let's agree to do this thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
We're trying to take care of this property and kind of figure out what we do with this group, and then we will figure it out from there.
Yeah.
All we can do is try it first. Yes, sir.
Part of the benefit of Part 103 is it's not very restrictive, and powered paraglider crowds don't want it to become more restrictive. But if they find out that what some people are doing jeopardizes their freedom to do what they want to do, they're going to make different choices. So I think that education piece.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because you'll regulate yourself to death, and I don't want that for anybody. I really don't.
There's going to be some peer pressure for people to behave better. if they know they're
That's generally what changes the intended thought process is peer pressure more than anything else. Why would you want to screw up where you go fly when somebody's being a knucklehead? I assure you, I'd be like, look, dude, you ain't screwing up where I fly.
Let me add another angle to this, or another avenue possibly. So there's another branch to this, just the paragliding. Right? You know about that? Just free flying, like kind of like sail planes. That's what. So with paragliding, there's no motor. You fly up a hill.
Right.
So those guys are also, they have their own regulations.
Okay.
Regulatory body. They're much more regulated and conform to rules because the sites that they use are few and far between, and they're basically, by being a member of that organization, they have access to these sites. So this may be like one of those carrot stick approaches where if we could get a few sites that are happy to have us and say, but to use it, you gotta meet these rules. That would be,
I think that would be completely fair. But
the problem is
that's
right
the
now,
pressure you got.
yeah, everything is.
Because what's happening is it's shrinking y'all down.
Exactly. Private people don't want it. Public people don't want it. Airports don't want it. Right. So where do you go?
But the problem is you can buy a $500,000 piece of land and still make
To do
everyone
this, to
around
go-
you mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody's
you,
not going
you
to
can
be
buy
happy.
your own strip.
Yeah.
As suggested.
But I'm saying, if for
But
example,
I'm not saying to you. I'm just saying. in
It
general,
is.
private
You're
spots
gonna
there.
fly, and they're gonna
Like,
call
you
these
can
guys, and they're
designate
gonna
a
call us.
spot, but there's still going to be somebody a
but that's
quarter mile
fine.
down the road.
Just like the
that's-
airport I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those, but
you're gonna complain.
there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
I get those multiple times a day.
Because then
Multiple
you say, this is
times,
a flight
and there's
path.
nothing I can do about that. But I can do something when we do something different. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So, let me ask, do we think we've gotten anywhere? All honesty, do we think we've gotten anywhere? Give me an honest answer. Do you think we've gotten anywhere?
Well, we will know next summer whether I call the sheriff or
But-
not. Because I will tell you, I have no problems with the temporary takeoffs from this airport. I think they have always been very respectful of the airplanes. We have, people.
I don't
gotta
think it would be an
respect that.
ongoing issue, and if it is, it'll be like the random fluke, whoever they.
And you may have someone that they don't know. And I understand that. You get some, they'll be like, "Hey, really?" And they may not know who it is.
But if you follow somebody down the road and start taking pictures and start creating conflict with them, they're also not going to be very friendly. If somebody tells me, hey, I don't want you flying around my field, like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you come in and say, hey, you're
Give me
I'm
your license plate
gonna
number.
get defensive too. You know, you gotta understand human nature. So you gotta understand how people work. Again, nobody's out here trying. I didn't get a paraglider so I can go annoy you, or fly over your house, or scare your horses, or whatever. I got it so I can enjoy nature and actually see the trees from like 10 feet down and be outside.
So we're just going to try and get the word out, do the best we can. And I say we keep in contact with each other. If we got problems, let's talk. Is that fair?
Rich, are you in contact with the other PPA? Are you gonna be talking to them?
Yeah, they
You guys talk to these guys or get any kind of,
Did you ask him to call
do
me?
you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, just think
He's got my number.
We can try.
I can't
It's the same. It's the
There's
same parallel.
It is. It absolutely is. So,
We have the same problem with
yes, sir.
roads,
You can
right?
also get in contact with the U.S. Ultralight Association, USUA. That's all, the powered paraglider operates under, it's an ultralight, as it fits into the ultralight category. And they have a publication, they have a website. It might be worthwhile to contact the USUA as well.
We can, and I would encourage you guys to get them out to fasting reps and just seriously figure out what because this is what they do, and figure out what way is the best to get that word out and help each other. That's all I can ask everybody to do. And can we just start from today? And if anybody's not happy with whatever's going on, let's have the conversation and have the conversation. Guys, law enforcement,
Communication's key. That I know.
I mean,
Talking,
that's
you guys know. I'm not saying you specifically. You guys know who's doing it, or you will on the day it happens. The only part that's disingenuous is when he says, "Well, you're not asking nice." Well, she did do it several times where we come out.
No,
we
that's not
talk
what I
nicely.
said.
Hang on. We talk nicely. It was like not completely. I don't care if they fly or not. I'm not with you. And it was fine. And I think that you are trying because you don't want the problems. For sure. But then it happens again and again. So to not understand why the landowners are frustrated is just not paying attention to the point.
Yeah, we get it for sure. I would be
You
frustrated.
do, and probably I'm not saying you guys don't. I don't know all of you guys, but there's
so
obviously ones that
let's
just don't
try
care.
that approach and see what let's see what we can yield out of it.
Yeah.
That's I think that's fair.
Business cards.
I do have some business cards. Does anybody on my team have anything they want to add? Talk about?
I mean, with what Kirk was saying, what Joe and I do primarily is education. We do educational outreach, and the big source of conflict, I think, is that we just don't know a whole lot about what you guys do. And you can educate us just as much as we can educate you. And the more we learn about what you guys do and how you do it, the better everybody will be. So I think what we want to try to do is, and we've got a few ideas we generated tonight. We want to try to have some meetings, some classes, something, working with you guys, so that way we can spread the word, keep everybody safe. That's key, and keep everybody having fun, and all of us be what's the word I'm looking for here?
Have a
Good.
synergy together.
There you go. Yeah, I mean we're all people here. Let's just be people, right? Good. All right. Cool.
Dave,
I was just gonna suggest that we get some business cards out, and if they don't have any, like, you can grab some of mine, I got plenty. And I'm happy to give you their phone numbers. So if they don't have any, you can run through me and I'll give you their phone numbers or information for you. And as far as wing programs are concerned, I do work closely with Jason and Kirk, and we, like I said, I do want to get in contact with USPPA. I like the idea of getting in contact with USPPA also.
USUA.
Say again?
USUA.
USUA, thank you. Yeah, that's a big organization. I thought again, that maybe we can do some, in fact, I mentioned that Jason already, some web airs. And I think that would be the better way to go about that, but some of you guys can actually be involved in helping. So I think that would be a good thing.
The more involved we can get you guys, the better, because you're the source of information that we need to get out there, because you know how these things operate. We don't.
Yes, sir.
And
Please.
just tying one last thing together, what I think,
Please.
as far as keeping the conversation going, it seems like the medium of connection between property owners and paragliders currently after this meeting is the sheriff. Is there a different route that people would prefer or that's possible that's not?
Or we
okay,
could-
because what's what's gonna end up
I'm gonna throw
happening
Dave
is-
under the bus and say, we can call Dave.
is the property owners are now
Notice
gonna
he
call the
leaves
sheriff.
Yeah, and I would only call these guys because I've done their job too. My suggestion for the medium, for the conversations, is we go through Dave. Yeah, Dave's not here. We are going through Dave. Most of us know Dave. I think it's a good intermediary. Is everybody okay with that?
Is it helpful for you guys to have someone's number? I was a paramotor, these guys have disowned me, I don't fly anymore, I had a kid. And
Dave, you got voted? You are a point of
for a couple
contact?
years, but is it helpful to have someone's telephone number to say like, hey, I know it probably wasn't me flying.
We were talking about a point of contact between, say, these folks and maybe the landowners, that maybe we need more conversation, or we're missing something.
I don't know if he's menacing me because I don't have any information. And then
again,
I call him and he can't get it because he didn't see it. And I'm like, I've got it on video. And then none of the guys will admit who was doing it. They were like, oh no, I didn't see it.
So I think the other half of that though is like, if I don't even really fly right now. I haven't flown for a year and a half. But like if I give you my telephone number, what I think is gonna happen is that next time someone flies between your silos, you're gonna tell them, hey, call this guy and take him to jail. And I'm like, I wasn't even there. I didn't have a plane. And so that's kind of part of it too from our perspective. But I think if there's can be a mutual respect between flyers and property owners to say, I would say I'm not the only one, again, I'm not really flying, but I don't want to speak for them, but I think they'd probably be okay to share some contact information. Hey, you see something, say something. But the downside of that is I think everybody probably feel like they're putting themselves at risk for being turned in when they're 2 hours away and, not participating or not even connected to that group.
That's why I'm allowed to go
So,
up
yes,
and take a
but that's
picture
why I'm
of
here
their
too.
drivers, their license plate. Am I allowed to do that and turn it into
Not
the
them,
sheriff's
but
guys?
I would
That's
guess
what I wanna
if
know.
you weren't trespassing, probably. I mean, that's them, but
Are you allowed on
if you were
that property?
That's why I
trespassing
needed
on
this,
someone else's
right?
property.
Yeah, we know that.
If you're allowed on his property, they
Now I
just
know.
have to take a picture.
So,
I don't know, but I have to give you my telephone number.
I heard Dave say that he didn't see any I heard Dave say that he didn't see any
I don't know, that you have to ask Dave.
But I took this test before I was certified, so I'll send him the
Guys, I appreciate you.
What we just created was a triangle with
I'm just trying to learn myself.
Yeah, me too. Y'all have a minute? I want to talk to all of y'all. Y'all got it? Yeah, can you?
Long time no see. Sure, under better circumstances. Yeah, and you see it. I don't find it.